Hello, dear friends. Welcome to Kardec Radio, where we're here to nourish our souls. I'm Norah, the host of this program, Thoughts by Joanna de Angelis and Divaldo Franco. This is our book. We are towards the end. We have a couple more messages, and all these messages are really trusting in God, right? And it's beautiful to have these reminders because when the challenges come, right, sometimes we need those tools. And so it's just nice to constantly be reminded. And today's message is actually really beautiful. And I have some slides just to change it up a little bit to differentiate, right, friends? So let me share my screen. All right, here we go. It had been a while, friends. Wow. So let's think about it as we're getting into the lesson today. When was the last time that we laughed so hard our cheeks felt hurt, or we felt that quiet joy of a sunrise, a kind word, or a song we love, right? We start to see that joy isn't a bonus in our life. It's not a plus. It's embedded. It's our spiritual duty, because living with joy is one of the most beautiful ways to thank God. And that is today's message. Joanna and Divaldo state, living with joy is the right way to thank God for the blessing of reincarnation. OMG, right, friends? This line truly reminds us that life itself is the blessing. But where does reincarnation come in the picture, right? It's not just about returning to earth again and again. Rather, it's about receiving one more chance. And we all love to have another chance, right? Chance for what, friends? Another sunrise, another friendship, another chance to love better than before. So when we live weighed down by bitterness, we miss the very gift that we were giving. But when we live with joy, even amid trials, we honor the giver of life. And joy doesn't mean ignoring the pain, because we all go through pain. It means choosing gratitude and light, even when shadows appear. So we can go to the Spirit's book, question 920. Can human beings enjoy perfect happiness on earth? Spirits say, nope. Right? We know that here on earth, we are here to atone ourselves, right? So let us remember, right, to not complain when we suffer. Instead, let's bless the Almighty, who has given the means for all of us to be cured through these trials of life. So every joy is a step forward, and every sorrow is a lesson learned, right? This is paraphrasing what the spirits are saying in that passage of the Spirit's book. And so we see here, Spiritism is, through reincarnation, is a school. It really is. Every lesson, from hard ones to the easy ones, right? They really do point us towards growth. And joy, well, embedded in those experiences, embedded in that, joy is the song of gratitude that we sing along the way. So there's a story, friends, like in this book, In the Greater World, Andre Luis and Chico have beautiful passages. But in chapter 16, under the mentally alienated, right? Andre Luis is guided by Calderaro to visit the institution on earth where many patients with mental illnesses are housed, right? So Calderaro explains that aside from cases of purely organic origin, many forms of madness arise when the soul rebels against the challenges of life. He almost calls this a hidden suicide, just to tie that in. It's September, suicide prevention, right? So this hidden suicide, it's not taking care of our bodies directly, but it's like a slow destruction of one's mental harmony. So when pain, obstacles, or death appear, Calderaro says, right, thousands of people surrender to this without resistance, allowing despair to corrode their minds, right? To paraphrase. So what begins as discontent and discouragement when a challenge comes in, right, can gradually lead to profound mental imbalance, almost impossible to heal. So this souls, Calderaro continues to tell Andre that where they were in this chapter, they rejected those divine lessons of reincarnation. So instead of seeing those difficulties as opportunities to grow, they clung to bitterness and rebellion. And so they became prisoners of their own suffering. And this lesson for us that we see here is clear. Joy is spiritual hygiene, right? Of the mind, of the soul. So choosing joy and gratitude, even in the face of trials, protects our mind and soul. So to live with joy is not to ignore the pain. We repeat this several times because we cannot ignore it. It's not about that. Okay? It's okay. We feel down. We've all been through that. But it's rather that once we pick ourselves up, we get the emotions, we need to embrace those battles, right? As a sacred school, thanking God for the blessing of reincarnation and the chance to learn, right? So this is what we learn in that chapter. So now, which path do we choose? The one without joy. So we end up kind of like these souls, fall in despair, imbalance, kind of like hidden self-destruction, or do we just push whatever I can, as much as I can, but I want to live with joy so I can be instead with harmony, right? And honor God's greatest gift, which really is life, friends. And we do know, friends, that Brian Weiss, right? He is a psychiatrist trained in traditional medicine, ended up coming across a different path in his life, right? So he studied reincarnation because he started working with patients under regression therapy. And so he writes the book. Many of you might have read it or are aware of it. It's called Many Lives, Many Masters, right? So he's describing how patients guided into deep states of relaxation recall past lives through here, right? And memories are bringing healing and for present fears and traumas. Really interesting. So we do know that he does talk about a young patient named Catherine, and she was suffering anxiety, panic attacks, phobias. The traditional therapy wasn't helping, so they do a hypnosis, and she starts to recall scenes from the past. She starts to describe vivid details, places from beyond, right? Different ways that she even disincarnated. And in this practice, as she relieved those traumas, right? This is Dr. Weiss sharing with us, something remarkable happened. All of a sudden, those intense fears, those physical symptoms, they began to disappear. So she finds peace by understanding that her suffering had roots in earlier incarnations. And we see this actually was even a turning point for Dr. Weiss, right? Understanding that science cannot be dismissed, neither is reincarnation. There's more than meet the eyes. So friends, so let us think about this. My dog is barking. Here you go. Give him a little toy, friends. I apologize. What happened? So here we have examples. And in one example, one extreme, we have Andre with Calderaro. They're like in the disincarnated form. We're not there. On the other, we have a book, right? Maybe not all of us have access to a hypnosis. But that doesn't mean that we're going to sit and kind of like find an excuse for that. Instead, what we're going to do, friends, we're going to see how I can embed into my daily life all of these things, right? So, for example, friends, give me 1 minute. Mateos. So, that's my dog's name. So, let's think about it. Instead of maybe recalling past lives with a therapist, if we don't have access to it, we can revisit our own present life, childhood, painful traumas, turning points, maybe even just with a regular therapist, right? And we can constantly, if this feels comfortable, ask ourselves, how is this teaching me? How is this helping me grow? Is this a safe way to regress, right? Without forcing past relive calls. So this is not like a deep thing. It's more like every day in my life, maybe there's this challenge that keeps reoccurring. I can do that self-analysis. Maybe that's my wake-up call in this reincarnation. Most definitely, we can be in prayer meditation, invite those higher spirits to illuminate those hidden causes of our suffering, to eliminate that. There you go, friends, because we do know meditation allows buried feelings to kind of surface gently, like a safe regression guided by the soul. We can do journaling, we can do writing, and dear friends, there are apps. I tried an app the other time. We can actually do journaling through apps and AI, and we can start to just kind of getting things out and start to process that as comfortable as we feel. Most definitely, I love this one. We think about practical healing, right? So I forgot to remove the mundo mayor, in the greater world, right? Calderaro shows that imbalance comes from rebellion. But when we choose gratitude, joy, serving others, we start to rewrite those patterns. So we, without needing to see even the original past lives, and so we don't have a way to see our past lives, or we don't have access, we do have different ways for us to go into this gratitude, and then even more so learn about it, friends, right? We see here Philippians 4:4. Bible says, rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. And let us remember, Paul was writing these words in prison. So here's another example. He was in such a difficult place, and he wasn't celebrating the comfort. He was celebrating his faith in this scene, right? In this life. So joy in this sense isn't about where we are. It's about who walks with us, right? And who are we choosing? What energy? We're praying, the higher spirit. So to end this today, let us remember that true healing doesn't require hypnosis or regression therapy if we don't have access to it, right? However, we saw that there are many ways for us to heal, right? Act of forgiveness, service, joy. We can meditate, we can pray, we can journal. Can continually ask ourselves safely, right, in a good space, okay, what's going on? Because we know that law of reincarnation, law of cause and effect, every challenge we face now is a chance to heal the past wound. And let us remember, joy is more than an emotion at the end of the day, right? It's a practice. So when we think about it that way, it means it comes and goes. We got to build it, build it, build it. But we do know joy is found in the way we greet each other each day, how we share kindness, and how we trust in God's design for our journey. Because after all, this section that Joanna and Divaldo are telling us about, it's all about trusting the journey, right? And understanding that as hard as it may be sometimes, we kind of have to find it in ourselves, dig wherever we can. It's in there. We start to understand each reincarnation is a blessing. Each life is a new canvas. And joy is the brushstroke of gratitude. So friends, what a beautiful message, right? We can't deny anymore with the science, with the studies, right? That our life has a deep purpose, and we need to study. And we can be creative with our studying, is with the technology and AI and so many new things that we have. And we can find joy. We all have challenges. We all go through things. And at the end of the day, what choice are we making? And that's the meditation of the week. Well, we won't do the meditation here. We can do multiple meditations throughout the week. Try to see what is the lesson for me to learn. And I need to say thank you for blessing me, because at the end of the day, we come out stronger at the other end, friends. I want to thank you so much for your presence. I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend, ready to begin the week. I would like to apologize for my dog barking in there. He was probably, he was joining us as well in this study. And I hope that we all find love, joy, peace in our everydays, right? Despite the struggles. And let us always remember that we are loved. Until next week, same place, same time. And let us remember to tune in to other programs here at Kardec Radio. Bye, dear friends. God bless you. Bye-bye.